Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and a very, very warm welcome to the program. Thank you so much for watching Smart24 TV and, of course, getting to drive your business. It's the #1 business channel in East Africa, Smart24 TV. And, of course, this is the point where we get to analyze policy and bring on board policymakers and experts in different fields and, of course, get to discuss matters that are of national economic importance. My name is Anthony Sebale and I am your host. And remember to follow me on Twitter at Anthony Sebale. You can also follow Smart24 TV at Smart24 TV. Right now we are live on GOTV. Our channel is 394 and DSTV channel 372. For those of you on YouTube as well, you can follow the matters there at Smart24 TV Live. You're most welcome to the show. Now, just a few weeks ago in December, the parliamentary committee in charge of course, finance there was able to be presented to the national budget framework paper for the 2023-2024 budget. And these were projections, of course, what we could expect in the budget of the coming financial year. The budget seemed to be a little bit higher, looking at the figure here in totality at 49.9 trillion Ugandan shillings, a little bit higher than the last year's budget, which was about 48.1 trillion. That meant about 1.85 trillion shillings higher. Now, of course, this budget comes at a time when we are going through difficult economic, financial times here in Uganda, but the entire world is going through the same. With our inflation going up to over 10.2% by December last year, and looking at our debt with over 52% of our GDP in debt, and all these other financial problems that are currently hovering around our economy. And so there has been concern of different organizations, and these are the civil society organizations about, of course, what the government is doing about the current financial, of course, economic hardships, but also budgeting for the country in a way that will actually drive the country through these difficult times. Now, today I'm joined by very special people on set, and the gentleman and lady, Mr. Rubanken Patrick, who is from the Civil Society Budget Advocacy Group, and Miss Miriam Akiro, who is from the Action for Hunger, right? Against Hunger. Thank you so much. And they're joining me here, of course, to add value to this very spiced up discussion, because when we talk about a national budget, we are talking about what the country is going to go through in the next financial year, how budget is going to finance this, how the government is going to rather finance this budget, how we are going to overcome public debt, and definitely get to improve social service delivery in the country. You're most welcome, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm very glad you're joining us. I think ladies first here. I don't know, Mr. Rubanken, no hard feelings.
No hard feelings.
Miss Miriam, tell us about Action Against Hunger. Tell us about yourself, first of all, and what Action Against Hunger really stands for.
Thank you very much, Anthony, and our listeners. My name is Mariam Akirol. I am the advocacy coordinator for Action Against Hunger. Action Against Hunger is a humanitarian and development response organization and a global leader in the movement to end hunger for everyone for once. And we want to applaud the government of Uganda for hosting us since 1980, when Action Against Hunger came to Uganda to respond to the famine in Karamoja.
Since 1980.
Since 1980, wow. We have been in Uganda, so we have a history with Uganda, and we want to applaud the different ministries that we work with, the Office of the Prime Minister, Minister of Local Government, because we work in refugee host districts in Ajumani, in Yumbe, in Kiriandongo, in Chikube, and in Sinjiro. And we focused on food security and livelihoods, nutrition and health, and also building strategic partnerships, influencing, advocacy and influencing. And that's why I'm honored to be here to be representing Action Against Hunger. And we are also, as Action Against Hunger, have invested interest in the national budget process. Because we are taxpayers. Action Against Hunger has 240 employees and 239 are Ugandans. We contribute to the consolidated fund over 3 billion annually on pay as you earn and withholding taxes. Sure. And we also contribute beyond 3 billion on NSSF. So as Ugandans, we are proud to associate with our country. We are very patriotic and we want to see this endowed country free from hunger. It's a shame that we still have hunger in our country. You recall the recent Karamoja end of year for 2022, the escalating food prices immediately after the Ukraine war. And also now that WFP and UNHCR are going through a transitioning refugees that have been here for a very long time into, livelihoods, cash, and reducing on food ratios so that they're able to grow food. We want to applaud the Office of the Prime Minister for that leadership that has given refugees access to land, that they are now able to have fresh, nutritious food and that cohesion with the community. So generally, that is Action Against Hunger. And we're also happy as women employed in Action Against Hunger because the ratio is 48.5% to our male counterparts. Wow. So briefly, that's that about Action Against Hunger.
Is Action Against Hunger under the United Nations?
No. Action Against Hunger is a global network. Okay. So it's an international organization that was founded in France in 1979 and immediately came to Uganda. So we are a network. We have Action Against Hunger USA that Uganda is actually under. Uganda is under the East and the Horn of Africa, which is Uganda, Kenya, South Sudan, Ethiopia, Somalia, Zambia, and Tanzania. Oh. So I'm the Uganda staff. Thank you so much.
Interesting, very interesting. Mr. Van Ken, thank you so much for joining us. I understand you represent the Civil Society Budget Advocacy Group. Tell us about this group and what some of your objectives are.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, members. My name is Rubanga Kene Patrick. I work with the Civil Society Budget Advocacy Group as an economist. CSBAG is a coalition of over 100 members that has been in existence in this country since 2004. We have presence both at national and subnational level. So our members are spread across the country. And majorly, the kind of work we do centers around mobilizing the communities, empowering them to demand for accountabilities, to demand for services from the government, because we are all stakeholders. We contribute into the consolidated basket where the money is. So majorly our vision as an organization is to advocate for a budget that dignifies humanity. When we talk about a budget that dignifies humanity, we want to see more spending going towards the social sectors, the programs that me and you directly benefit. For example, we want to see government invest adequate resources in areas of education, in areas of health, in areas of social development, in areas of water, sanitation, and environment. This is where the common man's heart is. So that is our major cardinal role. And we have been doing this work all this long, and we are glad to report that through our efforts, we are witnessing change in this country. So we encourage Ugandans to pick interest in the issues of budget because we do contribute in this pool. So basically, as CSBAC, our work centers around rallying Ugandans to see that the budget that the government of Uganda passes every year and implements every year magnifies humanity.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And I want to start with you on that particular note. What was your first reaction seeing this budget framework paper for the year 2023-2024? Because I understand on Sunday you released a press statement in which you, of course, pointed out some of the good and the bad. But what was your first outlook of the entire budget framework?
Okay, thank you. This budget that we are now discussing today for financial year 23-24 was tabled in Parliament December last year. And if you look at the budget framework paper, which is already under discussion, the different committees of Parliament are already engaging. And today, I'm glad to report that a years back, we interfaced with two committees, the Committee on Agriculture and the Committee on Local Government and Public Service. When this budget came out, first thing first, yes, the figures had gone up. If you look at the current budget that we are implementing in this current financial year, it's approximately 48 trillion. And the projected budget for financial year 23-24, it's projected at 49.9 trillion. So from a layman's view or perspective, can be clapping that, wow, the budget has gone up. Some 1 trillion extra is coming into the budget. But again, when you give that deep thought and unpack this budget, you realize that what glitters is not actually what's in. Because this budget, much as it has gone up, what we really see in this budget is discretionary spending has equally gone down. What do I mean when I talk about discretionary spending? Discretionary spending is the money that is available government of Uganda to provide the services that we desire as a country. So this amount of money, it's going down. So the value of the budget has gone up, but the amount of money which is available to provide the services that we desire, services to do with health, with education, the roads, all that, close to 3 trillion. Now that is the loss. And to us, as civil society, is something of great concern. And another key aspect that we see in this budget, we are seeing the cost of interest rates payments going up. In this current budget is around 4 trillion. It's being used to service, to pay interest rates. But in the projected budget of 23-24, up to a tune of 6 trillion, it's going to go for payments of interest rates. Now, that's also a pointer that previously as a country, we have contracted a lot of debt. So now time has come for government to pay all that. Again, if you look at in that interest rate payments that we are making, how much of it is domestic and how much of it is external? Over 5 trillion of that is going to be used to pay domestic interest. And the balance is for external interest. Now, that's also a pointer that most of the debt that we contracted were non-concessional and were domestic debt. So you can see, just once you look at the budget, there are so many other things that you get to see in that budget. Because again, when you look at the resource envelope in totality, it's also increasing. We are seeing what is being tabled for URA to collect in this coming financial year is also increasing. There's a projected increase from by close to 3.2 trillion. So you can see currently the projected target for what was been given as a target for URA is around 25.5 trillion. But in financial year 23-24, government expects URA to collect up to 28.8 trillion. That is a very huge target. And when we reflect back, how is Uganda's economy performing? You know, COVID has been here. We have really been down. And you see the target is going up. So that means debt has caught up with us. We have now to look inward and try as much as possible to mobilize domestic resources to fund our budget, because we are not going to rely 100% on borrowing, expecting our budget to be funded through debt, but we need to look inward and ensure that the domestic revenue, the resources that we generate locally as a country, helps us in financing the budget. Yeah.
Ms. Okoro, I want to bring here on this point as well. When you looked at this budget from your overview, generally you're seeing an increase, like he has mentioned, in the debt financing. We are also seeing an increase in the budget, which is kind of exciting, but also a disappointing bit. What was your overview when you looked at this in general, the National Budget Framework paper?
I think for me, Anthony, the concern was mainly on food and nutrition security, the reductions in the budget allocation for the critical sectors. For example, when you look at the Uganda National Bureau of Standards, the budget was projected to 1.110 billion. And now in 2024, this budget is going to come to 940 million. If we are talking about a food and nutrition secure Uganda, then we have to be deliberate on issues of food safety. And who does that? It's the Uganda National Bureau of Standards. How many of border points even have the enforcement officers to ensure that the food, the agro products that come into our country are safe for our consumption, are safe to our soil. We now hear the soil scientists saying that if we do not manage, it's going to get to the soil. You know, the fertilizers are very toxic. It gets to the soil, it gets to the food, and comes to us. And probably those are things that explain why we now have increasing cancer cases. If you visit the Cancer Institute, you'd really see from children, middle-aged people to adults, something that I used not to see when I was practicing my clinical social work at hospice. Today, you go to the Cancer Institute, you just say, God, where are we headed to? So ensuring that the Uganda Bureau of Standards has the capacity, it has the capacity, but it doesn't have the resources to enforce. Yes, it even does not have enough human resources to actually be placed at every border point. And also our population is growing. We have the smaller holder farmers. We have the agro processors checking to ensure that the machinery they use is safe to produce the food that we're going to eat. The other thing that really also shocked me was the allocation to the storage, agro-processing and value addition budget, you know, that is expected to reduce drastically, you know, from 62.120 billion to 25.8 in the financial year 2023-2024. The national agenda for the ruling party is securing the future. How will you secure a Uganda that is food and nutrition rich if they do not have, if they are threatened with food and nutrition insecurity? So for us to secure our Uganda and the future of Ugandans, we need to be food and nutrition secure. We need to ensure that we return and invest in the food baskets. We need to return to the granaries at grassroots level. We need to have the food reserves like other countries, like Malawi. Malawi is one of those countries that has a food reserve. You saw when Mubende recently, the Ebola, in less than 2 weeks, they were asking for food. And yet we've all known Mubende as a food basket. We're also looking at agro-processing. How are we, you know, we're talking about the value chain. And if we invest in the agro-processing, it means that we're going to save on the post-harvest wastage. So this is critical, the value addition. You saw how our maize was rejected, our milk was rejected from Kenya. And this is all because of, the storage issues that will show our Greek products as being of low standard that cannot compete. We want to applaud government, the ESC, the COMESA, and the Africa Free Trade Area. How can we compete if we have substandard products? Yes, there is market, but do we have what suits to the minimum standards of that market? So this is very critical for us. And then also, if agriculture is not properly invested on, we are already having challenges with water for production, agricultural production, on farm and off farm. You saw the rains that were between September and November. Now, if we had, educated our farmers, they should have been able to produce, climate smart, quick vegetables, and we have them in abundance. So access to water for production is one of the things that is going to help us address the issue of food insecurity in our country. We have, look at Yumbe and Germany, that have the largest refugee camps. Bidi is the largest refugee camp in Africa and the second in the world. We are hosting 1.5 million refugees in Uganda. And if those districts are food insecure, you can imagine the burden on the host communities and the competition for food. But if they have access to water for production, access to additional land for production, then we will be able to secure the future for Ugandans, that is food and nutrition secure. I'll keep talking about food and nutrition secure because a country that has well-nourished people is a productive country.
Yes.
If a country that is 80% an agricultural country has a malnourished, stunted, and wasted population, it means their children will not grow to their full potential. It means the agricultural production will be low. And yet we are known to be an agricultural economy. Agriculture is at the heart. When everything locked down, the farmers fed us. Even us in Kampala, we had the food. So we need to invest in sectors that are going to secure the lives of Ugandans, that are going to give us safe, healthy, and nutritious food.
Yes,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Miriam, thank you. The government says that we are living in tough financial times, and it is in this economy, and it's saying we have to be frugal and we have to cut costs here and there. We're going to talk about that and more: cost cutting, high public expenditure, and some of the things that government has been spending on. But also, there are a few things, for example, in your press statement that you commended government for last year that were actually achieved. We're also going to point out some of those after this short break. Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking the National Budget Framework Paper 2023-2024. What does it have in store for you? Is it looking at the common person, the common Ugandan out there, and taking care of the financial needs that we are currently having as a country? My name is Anthony. We are taking a very short break. Stay with us.